Molly Ritterback, the Fitness and Gear Director at Runner's World Magazine. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a very exciting panel today, so we're gonna waste no time and just kick it off with some introductions. So Sylvia, why don't you start?
Hey all, so I'm Sylvia Heisel, and my background is actually all in fashion as a designer, and I transitioned from traditional clothing to incorporating technology into clothing a number of years ago, and my company works kind of in between the fashion world and the tech world. We do a lot of prototyping and a lot of teaching and a lot of, how do you integrate those two?
Cool. Ishiro?
Yep, I'm Ishiro of Xenoma. So we are making the smart apparel, which is very comfortable and stretchable and machine washable. So we are from the University of Tokyo. We are a startup. And now we are making the eSkin GK, which is for the motion recognition shirt. So you can see at our booth at 44216 cool. in this building. Thanks.
And Shin?
Hi everyone, my name is Shin. I work at a company called Strictsense, and we are an OEM sensor manufacturer. We make fabric-based and silicone-based sensing systems that integrate very well into smart garments.
And Tony.
I'm Tony Chahine. I'm the CEO of a company called Myant. At Myant, we are building a textile computing platform. We're completely end-to-end, from molecule to raw material to knitting, weaving using advanced robotic machines, all the way to mechanical, electronic software, all under one roof. We have 80 scientists on staff, and for the last 8 years, we've been developing disruptive methods to assemble and develop a textile interface between the body, between humans and the connected world, IoT, AI, etc. And today we are launching at the show our consumer-facing product. We call it Skin with 2 eyes, and it is a very unique product. It's a platform across the full body. It's not based on a location on the body. It's a full body because it uses everyday textile to bidirectionally interact. It can sense, record, and uniquely respond to your body data.
Great. So we know that smart devices are getting even smarter. For example, smart watches now have the ability to learn you and your habits and adapt to your personal routine. So Sylvia, what are some specific examples of why you would choose a smart garment over something like a device?
I think first off is that we all wear clothes. So every consumer has already opted in on clothing, and now we're just making it smart, whereas they have to opt in on a device. And then it's about how much clothing covers your body much more, how much more it can do in the response, and in how much more can a garment that covers a part of your body respond to that data.
Right. Ishiro, how about your take on that?
Yeah, actually, more than half part of the answer was from her, but I can answer very easily. How many people are wearing watches, wristwatches? How many people? Maybe less than half, right? Okay, how many people are wearing clothes?
Right.
No one? Everybody is wearing clothes, right? See,
Yeah.
So, so it's very easy. So, but I think it's a time issue. So nobody can understand how comfortable and how efficient when we wear the smart apparel. So once you can know, it is very useful, and then everybody's going to wear. Yeah.
So a big part of that, especially as you say, everybody is wearing clothing in this room, is going to be style. A lot of what we choose, we are able to showcase our personalities through our clothing. So I'm interested to know, Shin, what fashion processes or style-focused processes have you guys implemented in your product development and your business plan?
So as Strictsense, we make sensors that actually integrate into the clothing itself. So what we have found is that customers really demand sensing systems that are lightweight and unobtrusive. And by unobtrusiveness, it's not just the lightweightness, the stretchiness and flexibility of sensors, but it's really important that it is also aesthetically acceptable to the end consumer. And so most importantly, we found that the circuits and the electronics is an important part in terms of miniaturizing it and packaging it so it is water resistant. In terms of our silicone sensors, it's been quite interesting. A lot of fashion designers love the look of our silicone sensors. So this is something that we've tried to make it quite clean, clear, and something that can be visible on the body.
Cool. And Tony, how do you guys think about fashion as you work on your business?
Well, first you have to democratize technology. Currently, if a fashion designer want to work on sensors or actuators, she or he are far away removed from that process. So they're receiving the technology after the fact. And I think that need to be completely disrupted. So it's difficult to have a fashion or a style and then have to attach wires and form an additional material that then you have to adhere to textile that could be stretchable, breathable. The moment you put stuff on top of textile this way, you're dealing with a complete new restriction. So you have to democratize all of that process. And that's why it's my personal belief that the yarn itself has to have embedded technology in it. At a very advanced level, and then or additional material, but it have to be part of a robotic process or some kind of a process that could sustain the repeatability and the stress that manufacturer endures. So I think it has to be invisible at the minimum.
Right. You bring up the process, which I think is a challenge in the industry. So I'm curious. Can you explain, Ishiro, maybe you'd have a great take on this, how you've integrated manufacturing garments and electronics in one? Because I know that factories aren't always necessarily great at one or the other.
Actually, our core technology was from the university, so we already had a technology. But actually, the manufacturing is one of the great big issue on us. And actually, from the initial, even if we were in a university, we are focusing on how to utilize the current existing manufacturing processes to make the smart apparel. So that's why we quickly moved from the university to the factory in Vietnam. Actually, we are making product in Vietnam. Yeah, so we started just a Vietnam factory. Yeah, it was very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tony, how about you? Are you constantly thinking of that integration, and is that part of the solution to the issue?
Yeah, I personally believe you cannot innovate if assembly or manufacturing is far away.
Right.
That's from my experience after 8 years, we failed heavily in the beginning. Because when I went to China and India, where the supply chain is, that market does not understand or doesn't have enough practice of attaching technology into textile.
Right.
So we had to start from scratch. We build it all from beginning to end in Toronto, Canada. And we do from A to Z, all under one roof. And we felt if you iterate fast enough and you're dealing with fashion designers and scientists and engineers under one roof, your product iteration will be much better, much faster, and you can solve problems right there and then.
Great, awesome. Sylvia, I'm curious, I've seen this a lot, especially in the sneaker industry, who are at an arms race to try to customize sneakers for people, and the difficulty they're facing is scale. So how do you scale smart garments to make them affordable, attractive, and meaningful to the average consumer, especially in the world of fitness? So that could be your weekend warrior or your fitness enthusiast.
Right. It's a challenge. It's a big challenge. I think you have to start with what the consumer is used to and what the consumer expects. We're seeing a lot in fashion of designs and clothes that are coming out that are talking about being smart and talking about how they function.
Right.
And that's becoming really important to the consumer, and the consumer's also interested in customized and sustainable. And sustainability is coming up as a big thing.
Right.
And that has to be integrated into the design from the beginning to make, you can have one sensor, but have it on different types of garments depending on who your consumer is.
Right.
The female consumer, the male consumer, the weekend warrior versus the pro athlete. The clothes have to be really different, but the technology can be the same at its core.
Right. And Shin, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on scale as well.
Yeah, I agree with Sylvia. You have to give customers what they're used to. And I think customers also hate change. They're used to what they want. And so I think for smart garments to really scale, we need to do two things. We have to give garments that are affordable, as in customers don't want to pay $500 for a smart shirt. They want to pay for a shirt. And so I think we need to make sure that, especially companies like ours, StretchSense, we have to deliver products or sensing systems that can be integrated cheaply by our customers. And finally, I think in terms of scale, it needs to be meaningful to the customer. And I think we can do that by giving technology that is unobtrusive. So, for example, if we had smart shirts that had technology imbued in it, that was invisible and unobtrusive. If the customer couldn't feel it on their body, they could walk into a meeting, they could wear it to work, and their colleagues wouldn't notice. On top of that, they get all the added benefits of health data, injury prevention, and improved training or sports feedback. Then I don't see why that customer wouldn't choose to wear the smart shirt over a normal one.
Right. So at Runner's World, we've reported on professional coaches who have access to all of the most high-tech resources. And they instead encourage their runners to trust their instincts and listen to their bodies. So Ishiro, how would you respond to that coaching device and maybe skeptics who say there's a danger in being dependent on too much data in athletics?
Actually, most of the customers are from the sports industry, and runners is one of them. Mm-hmm. And I often meeting the coaches, and they're always struggling how to inform the performance and how to improve their performance to the players. But it's not really intuitive. But one of the advantage of the shirt is that since everything is covered, all the body parts are covered by the shirt. So for instance, at this moment, we don't have any feedback from the shirt, but we can get some actuator or something to feedback to any body part. And the feedback might be more intuitive rather than saying something or showing the video, but they can feel from the shirt. So that's one of the solutions that now we are thinking. Yeah.
And Shin, how about with StretchSense? Do you hear that criticism at all, or how would you respond to that?
I think my personal take on that is, I agree. I think the danger is you don't want to be too black and white in your thinking. I think it is dangerous if athletes and their coaches relied purely on data, but I think you need to take a step back and look at the whole picture. And you would want to see the whole picture because you don't want to make the next move without knowing all the information that you can. Like playing chess, you want to look at the whole chessboard. So I think the role that motion data or any data plays is just added information to what you know in terms of your gut instinct. Continue to use that. But also, if you could back that up with further data, wouldn't you be interested in knowing that? So, for example, what we do at StretchSense, we work with a lot of physiotherapists as well. And the reason physiotherapists are interested in working with us is a lot of their work relies on subjective information. A patient comes in and they have to subjectively tell what is wrong with this patient, where are they injured, and what kind of exercises they need to do to improve themselves. Now, the benefit that data plays in this situation is the physiotherapist can now know objectively with certainty exactly what's wrong with the patient and give them information that they know is going to help them recover faster, and I think that's the added benefit.
Great, yeah. We see at Runner's World this takeover of running as a lifestyle and less as a competitive sport. So it's interesting to see how this interplays with our audience in that not everyone's running to compete and to dive into their data, So I think we're at a very early stage in terms of full consumer adoption of eTextiles. So what does the future really look like? And Sylvia, how do your designs contribute to that?
I do think, you're right. We are at a really, really early stage. And I think that it is coming as consumers see, okay, gee, I can wear something that is better, that's smarter, and it's cooler and I get this data as an added thing. You know, it's a better garment. I think that's what we're really, in the end, it's not about eTextiles. It's about making clothing and making the stuff we put on our bodies better than it is right now. The next generation of stuff will be smarter, better for the world, make us better, make us feel better, make us stronger. It's about making clothing that's better.
Ishiro, what does the future look like for Xenoma?
Of course, we are focusing on the consumer market, and all the shirts is going to be e-skin, I hope. And the point is the price and benefit and sacrifice in returns. So now we are focusing on how to make it comfortable, to decrease the sacrifice. But now we also need the benefit to show to the people. So I think that's one of the challenges that we have to do. Yeah.
And Shin?
Yeah, so we think that the future of smart clothing is moving to self-powered technology. So one day your smart wearables will be self-powered by your body motion. So we want to replace batteries so that, you know, imagine going home and you have to charge your phone, your computer, and then also plug your shirt into the wall. So we want to remove that process and make sure that our sensor technology can be self-powered.
And Tony?
Well, I think the demand for functional textile is here. The product offering is not. If you look at human-to-computer interaction, for example, at night when one sleeps, everybody's talking about monitoring sleep and things like this, but you still, if the thermostat, if your room is hot, you have to stand up and go adjust or talk to it. By that time you woke up, you disrupted your sleep, and then you go back to sleep, try to go back to sleep. Using textile on a bidirectional way with basic sensors like skin temperature or core temperature on an underwear that you wear that constantly, on a 24 hours, continuously read your biometric data, read your temperature, your breathing, your impedance, and communicate with the IoT just for a simple, better life, better sleep, without complicating all of this. Just for me, I have a tough time sleeping, and often it's because the room is too cold or too hot, or and when we designed our skin underwear that's launching today, it's constantly adjust the room temperature or the office temperature, even in our own office. You know, the temperature sometimes could be good for some people, but bad for others. So you have heaters sometimes below, and I believe in technology that has to be ambiently aware of you, as opposed to you have to remember and do this and do that. So, and it's possible today. So I feel very good about the future of functional textile, but as everyone said over here, I think it has to be invisible and no habit change, or the least amount of habit change, because you're not going to get adoption. I can give you one small example that was important to me. When I started this back 8 years ago, I wanted to do something for my dad, who passed away now, but he was dementiated. And someone who's dementiated, you know, it's a mission impossible to produce technology for that kind of a customer base. And that customer base has to be taught, and they're not going to remember doing this and doing that. So you need this kind of ambient technology or ambient computing. So I've been working for 8 years to develop a seamless product, 24 hours, continuously on. You don't have to remember anything. You can wash it the same way you wash your product. It kind of behaves the same way. I mean, we're not there. We're very close. But I think the industry needs to be more collaborative and more open. But again, we have to focus not only on prototyping and get so excited about prototyping. We have to make. If you don't make, in my opinion, you cannot invent.
Right. Cool. So right now I'd love to open it up to questions from the audience, if anybody has any. Go ahead.
Hi. So the question is about personalization and the trend for creating your personal clothing. So when it comes to smart clothing, you want to have like a perfect fit that doesn't limit you in any way when you do the physical performance. So, and it comes to the question of scalability. How do you see this progressing in terms of, is the clothing in future is going to be like personalized, like we see the trend with Ecolook and Amazon producing the personalized clothing for everybody, and the whole supply chain will change. And what do you see, what kind of shifts and trends do you see in actual supply chain section of the production of the clothing?
I think, there are going to have to be changes in the supply chain. Also, you're still talking about a pretty high-level product at this point. So I think it's a half and half of mass customization, where you're not having garments that are 100% made from scratch, but you have a supply chain where you can customize along the way and closer to when you're reaching the consumer. You're also, at this point, you're starting with a pretty high-level garment, not, you're a $50 shirt, not a $20 shirt, and that gives you some room to enable that customization.
Yeah, I'll add to that. One of the things that we offer for customers, some customers do want calibration, some customers do not, so it depends on your application. But one of the things that we can offer for customers who want a personalized or customized item is enabling them to calibrate their clothing or the sensors that they receive, so they know that whatever stretch or whatever movement is in the garment is personalized to their body shape, size, and movement.
How about here? Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just curious if any of you were actually wearing any sensor clothing, and if not, under what conditions would you?
I am wearing currently our underwear. something unfortunately, I'm not gonna prove it to you. But I am currently measuring my ECG, my breathing, my bioimpedance from a typical boxer underwear. And it allows me to communicate with the IoT for all type of new interaction. So that's it.
Yeah, I'm wearing it. I can play with game, or I can get the data from my body. Yeah.
With regards to where we are in terms of price points. I mean, we talk about bringing it down for wider adoption by a larger population. Where are we right now? How much do your products cost? I mean, are we talking in hundreds of dollars? Are we talking, tens? Are we thinking more Walmart versus, your very specialized athletic stores?
Go ahead, Tony.
The prices you'll not have adoption if the price is going to be significantly higher. It doesn't matter how much technology you put on it, at least not today. You may sell some percentage. I'm answering this question in a way that I want to create massive volume. So our underwear will be priced below $50 with wireless charging from a distance, with the module in it, with ECG, with all of those sensors. If you start going above that price, you're going to have significant resistance.
So if you charge, like for one pair of boxers, $50, I just can't see an individual having a draw full of your product. So durability would have to also come into play. So,
If you look back in 2006, when the iPhone replaced $2 trillion worth of industry, the calculator, the camcorder, the music players, etc. You have to look at human-computer interaction as opposed to the wearable price. What will this device replace in future interaction, and what cost benefit, and what efficiency you'll have, and what insurance benefit you may have, etc., etc. People who consume that kind of data, if you look at the future of healthcare, anticipatory, preventative, everyone is talking about this. You need to wonder how you're going to participate in the anticipatory data as a healthy person unless you wear something like this. So I personally believe the price is acceptable, but it's a new thing. It has to be explained. It has to be, people have to try it. People have to enjoy it. And
I want to jump in on this. in one way that I think you also have to, when you're developing a product for consumers in this space, you have to look at what your consumer is already paying for those things. Are you selling to a Lululemon consumer or a Walmart consumer? And go, okay, that's what, the woman that buys Lululemon is used to $125 for a pair of leggings is like normal, as opposed to the Walmart consumer. So you have to take that into consideration also.
Ishiro, do you have thoughts there?
In terms of the not price but the manufacturing capability, at the end of 2018, the monthly production rate is going to be 2,000 per month. Not that much because the process is very complicated. But now we are focusing on how to make the manufacturing processes by ourselves, and then it's going to be much better. And one of the great advantages of the apparel industry is most of the parts are by human hands. So that's why we can all of the variety of the designs and the sizes can be manufactured. So I think it's possible to make it in the current mass production. Not like Walmart, I hope, but yeah.
How many sensors can you currently add to your garments now? And what's the timeline we're looking at to add sensors maybe you don't have yet?
Maybe.
What's the question?
You?
It's a question to me? Okay.
Whoever.
You could have, currently in our underwear, we have 6 sensors, and we will add around probably 5 more sensors to it. If you look at possibility, if you're using yarn as a method to sense or actuate, then you can add as many as you want, almost a matrix of them, 5 per square inch. It depends on the distribution. Sometimes you have to insulate the conductive path, or sometimes you don't. And it depends on what you need, but in our current underwear today, we have 6 sensors.
The product right now I'm wearing is I have 14 sensors plus 6-axis inertial sensor. And technically, we have done up to 35 sensors onto the shirt. If I answer honestly, actually the 35 is not really realistic at this moment, because if the number of sensors is increasing, the number of the contact point is also going to increase, and then a controller is going to be more massive. So I think at this moment, 14 to 20 is the realistic number at this moment.
How about you?
I have a question for Dr. Ishiro. For your motion recognition shirt, it seems like sensor placement would be important. I was wondering how you deal with the challenge of different body types for your particular product.
That's a good question. Actually, one of the challenges that we did was how to make it more robust, not really precise. Because once I fit the position onto the perfect place for one person, the other person is not going to work as the same as. So what I did was, I test with the more than 25 people. Not only Japanese but also the foreign people, and then to make more robust to get the same data. So the data quality is not as good as the Xsense or optical systems, but still it works. Yeah.
We have a question up here. Oh, okay.
Hi, Tony was talking earlier about wireless charging, and Shin Jeong was talking about harvesting the body's energy to kind of power these wearables. In terms of research and availability of this technology, I know, for example, in case of the wireless, you have to be very close to the source, right? And the harvesting energies, it's even in earlier stages of research. When do you guys see this technology being ready or reliably available?
So how our energy harvesting systems work is it's based on capacitive theory. So you don't have to be placed close to a charger or a power source. Where we're at the moment is we've built a proof of principle prototype that shows that it is possible to harness energy through compression of a material on its own. What we're working on currently is to combine the energy harvesting prototype and our StretchSenses into one. So rather than just compressing the harvester, you're able to stretch it or deform it in any way and produce energy that way. So how this relates to smart garments is, of course, if you're running around, you're stretching your smart garment, you're moving it around. And through that kinetic motion, we're trying to harness energy. We can't commit to a timeline per se for this, obviously, but it is on our product roadmap, and it's something that we want to aggressively pursue in the next few years.
Yeah. And for us, it wasn't about the technology itself. It was about the user experience. See, electronics are getting smaller and smaller. And if you're over the age of 60, you'll have a tough time figuring out how to plug that device to charge it. So we developed this wireless charger from a distance. Currently, it's a company exhibiting here at the show. They just got their FCC approval to charge up to 3 feet away from any direction. So we picked that technology for that reason, just to minimize a habit change. It's not something that you have to plug or you have to put on top of something in a specific way, because we found adoption using that is very, very low.
Great presentation. Question about, I know this is fitness, but where are you with FDA, and if your garments are interactive, is there any possible problem with anybody wearing the garment? Have you looked into that?
We have just signed an exclusive deal with Asahi, a Japanese company. They own a wearable defibrillation company, defibrillation on the body, so class 3 medical device, very, very difficult to obtain. So we are producing their garment, developing some of their sensors. But every garment requires its own FDA, because the FDA is not a general term, it's for a specific use case. Currently, our underwear is not FDA approved, but it will be at some point if the people who need to consume that data require FDA approval. For now, we're dealing with wellness, and we're dealing with consumer-grade product. But if you're asking me about if the product is safe, or things like this, I mean, the product is a typical textile product.
I have 2 questions. One, can you comment on washability? And number 2, for your product categories, can you comment on let's say for the American market, the expected replacement cycle, that's for underwear or for shirts?
Sure. You know why we like very few people know this number. We love the base layer product, and I talked a lot about underwear, but we have underwear, bras, socks. In North America alone, we consume 7 billion units every single year of socks, legging, underwear, bras, tank top, t-shirt, etc. 7 billion units. So our vision is majority of these production are coming from overseas, and we're building a robotic and advanced Industry 4.0 assembly in the States, and we have one currently in Canada. Our goal is to create a very close replenishment ability, but the beauty about the characteristic of the base layer, people have a tendency to replenish often, more often than they buy a personal computer. People go through their underwears, their socks, they come in every year probably, you tend to keep your hand phone maybe for 2 years. Sometimes your underwear, you change it faster than 2 years. So we like that model. It allows our hardware to be upgraded much faster, and then our software could do a lot more things.
So unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you all so much for your time, and thank you for your thoughtful questions.
Thank you.